Hello students, let's look at selection, which on topic 6 is 6.2, 6.5. And I briefly touched upon selection in a couple of the other previous videos because it's such an integral part of programming. Sequence, selection, iteration were the different basic control structures that we use in high-level programming. And selection is generally using a combination of if, else if, or else statements. So I say else if because in other programming languages it might be called else if. In Python it's abbreviated ELIF. But all programming languages will have something similar to this. They'll have very similar types of control structures available to them. And there are other ones like try and accept, but we don't need to know those for GCSE, Edexcel curriculum. So how can we use these to make choices and selections? Let's have a scenario where we have a password for a computer, all right? And we want to get the password from the user. Input, please enter your password, shall we say. Please enter your password. So whatever they type in is going to get stored in the variable password. And then I can use an if statement to say if password, well, let's use does not equal the string which is stored on the file as pass1234, which is not a good password, by the way, but that's what the user typed in as their password before. That's what's saved on the system. If it does not equal that, then we can say print invalid password, try again. So we have asked them to the user to put a password in. So I'll just try it. Let's just do it. Enter a password. So I'm going to enter pass1234, which is almost the same, but I forgot the capital P. And it'll say invalid password, try again. So if I do try again and I put pass1234, I don't have a statement here saying anything else. So I need to put else in here, print logged in. Okay, all right. So if I now run this, pass1234, logged in, okay, comes up. So I'm matching a condition here for this if statement. If the password does not equal the one on file, say invalid password. Else, everything's okay. The only other option is they typed in the right password. So logged in, okay. So this is a way of using logical statements here with selection to sort of make choices based on the relational operators. So I can easily change that to something like does equal. If password does equal that, then I could say, well, then password is correct. So I can use different relational operators here and combine them. So let's have another example. Age equals, and I'm going to convert whatever the person types in into an integer by using int. Enter your age here. So let's say there's a restricted, or let's say, well, what about driving? Okay, if you're 17 in the UK, you're allowed to drive, or at least you're allowed a provisional license and learn how to drive. So if age is greater than or equal to 17 years old, then I can say you are old enough to learn how to drive. Else, the only other option there is that you're less than 17. So else is used as a bit of a catch-all. Notice how I put a colon at the end of the else statement. You are not old enough yet. So that's fine. Let's just say, I'm just going to comment these out for a second because I don't want them running while we use different, and clear this. Okay, enter your age here. So if I put 18, you are old enough to learn how to drive. Fine. If I put 16, you are not old enough yet because it didn't meet that condition. As long as the age is greater than or equal to 17. So I might want to have another caveat to this. I might want to say, okay, if age is greater than or equal to 17 and age is less than equal to what would be a cutoff? I don't know, let's say 85. I'm just making this up. Maybe there's a cutoff point where you have to get another license. Then you might want to have a different sort of statement here. Or too old and need another test. Right, so if I put enter your age and I put 86, it says you're either not old enough yet or too old and need another test. So obviously I can make the statement slightly better than that. And I could, if I wanted to, I could have if age is greater than or equal to 17, you're old enough to learn how to drive. But when you've got the and in there, it allows you to have two different ranges. So it's quite useful to have a statement which allows you to have two different sort of a range within one statement to check. So let's go for a slightly more tricky scenario here. Let's look at conditional statements that are nested within each other. Okay. So let's say if number one let's create some variables. Number one equals, let's say 4. Number 2 equals 5. Number 3 equals 6. So we just initialize some variables and give them some integer values. So I'm just selecting those out for a second. So if number 1 is greater than or equal to num2, which it isn't, and num1 is greater than or equal to number 3, which it isn't, we could say max, if we wanted to find, let's say, the maximum, the largest of the three numbers. So we've got these three numbers, let's find a way of getting the maximum value of them. So we could say maximum is number 1. So if number 1's bigger than number 2 and number 1's bigger than number 3, then obviously number 1 is the biggest. In this case, it's not, but that's just there in case. Else, then we can check some more conditions. So this is a nested conditional statement. If number 2 is greater than or equal to number 1 and number 2 is greater than or equal to number 3, then guess what? Just going to copy this to make it easier. Maximum is number 2. And then the only other option, else, is maximum is number 3. Because if those other 2 options haven't been selected, then the only other option is it's number 3. So we should get number 3 as our maximum value. The maximum is 6. There it is, maximum is 6. So this nested conditional statement will look at those 3 numbers and output the largest. So if I change that to say 40, then it's saying maximum is 40, because the very first condition was met if 40 is greater than or equal to number 2, which it is, and it's greater than or equal to number 3. And you can chain multiple ones up together. You can have as many of these as you like. But with and, you have to have all of those individual statements to be true. So number 1 greater than or equal to number 2 has to be true. Number 1 greater than or equal to number 3 has to be true. And whatever else you put, as long as it's a true statement, the whole expression will evaluate to true. We haven't really looked at else if yet. So the way else if works is if we check something first with if. Let's just say if member of an organization is a junior. If the member's a junior, print let's say, what can we print? Entry equals 2.0. Else if, so it will check the first one, the first condition first, if member equals a junior, and then it will then go down the sort of tree looking at other ones. Else if member does equal senior, then we can, I'll just copy this, the entry could be different. We could have like a 3.0. And then we could have another else if member is a special. And I need to make sure that's this one's indented. There you go. Then I might have no entry. And then else is a sort of catch-all. So if I didn't have a junior, senior, or a special, and let's just make a variable called member. And let's just say let's just say other, right? So it doesn't match any of those conditions specifically. We can say member type must be junior, senior, or special. All right. So our member type is other. So we should get that message coming in there. If we ask member type must be junior, senior, or special. So if I change that to junior, it will give me entry equals 2.0. It needs to be a capital J. It needs to match exactly. There we go, entry equals 2.0. So that's a way of using else if. So you check, is it junior? Okay, else if is it senior. Else if is it special? Okay, none of those. Then else, there's a catch-all at the end. You can have multiple if statements as well. It's entirely possible to have multiple if statements, which will just match potentially multiple conditional conditions and have multiple outputs potentially. So if you wanted to get, say, let's say we've got a result equals 9, and we wanted to check that whether our result value was between 1 and 10. Okay, we can say if result is is greater than or equal to 1, and result is less than or equal to 10, then we could do something if that. Okay. We have to put the result is and the result is. If you don't have this, it will cause an error. Okay, so if it's greater than 1, less than 10, you could say result in range of 1 to 10. All right, and because our result was 9, it will say result in range of 1 to 10. But if I had 11 in here, it will just not say anything because we don't have a statement for it. But so if I say else, print out, I can say result out of range. There you go, result out of range, because the number we had is 11 and it doesn't match those conditions. So using a combination of selections, you can make very powerful logical statements that can do certain code snippets and result in sort of different pathways, if you like. That should be enough, I think, to get the idea for selection. And next we'll look at loops.